Rain hammered against the windows of Adrian Hale's car, turning the city into a blur of lights and shadows, but nothing outside mattered, until one sound cut through everything. A cry. Small. Sure. Not loud, but desperate enough to turn his blood cold. Adrian lifted his head, phone slipping from his fingers as he leaned closer to the glass. At first he thought it was just another pedestrian rushing through the storm. But then he saw them. A woman stumbling near the crosswalk, and two little girls pressed against her legs, their tiny coats soaked through. One of them pointed toward the road with trembling hands, her lips moving in a silent plea he couldn't hear but felt in his chest. A car shouldn't have been speeding in that kind of rain, yet headlights tore around the corner like a bolt of white fire. The woman tried to pull the girls back, but her foot slipped, her hand losing its grip on the smallest child. The moment stretched thin, too thin, and something inside Adrian snapped. "Stop the car," he shouted. His driver hit the brakes, but Adrian didn't wait. He pushed the door open so hard it rebounded off the frame, cold rain slamming into him like a wall. He ran. Instinct, panic, something unnamed, he didn't know which controlled his feet. The little girl stood frozen in the street, eyes wide with terror, unable to move as the car skidded closer. Adrian reached her with a final stride, scooping her into his arms just as the tires screeched across the asphalt. He twisted, shielding her, feeling the force of the wind from the passing vehicle brush the back of his coat. The girl let out a trembling breath against his shoulder, her small fingers clutching him like he was her only anchor. For a heartbeat, adrenaline drowned the world. Then she looked up. And the moment he saw her eyes, those deep gray eyes he used to trace with his thumb, his heart stopped. Because he knew that shade. And only one person in his life ever carried it. Adrian couldn't breathe. Those eyes, soft gray with a hint of storm, pulled him backward in time, to memories he'd spent 4 long years trying to bury. The child blinked at him, confused, trembling, innocent. Yet carrying the one feature he once loved most in someone he lost. Before he could speak, a voice he hadn't heard in years broke through the rain. "Please, give her to me." He turned sharply. And there she was. Mara stood a few feet away, soaked from the storm, her hair plastered to her cheeks, her breath trembling as she held the other little girl tight against her chest. The sight hit him harder than the near crash. She wasn't the confident, smiling woman he remembered. She looked tired. Protective. Stronger in ways life had clearly forced her to be. And the second child clung to her coat with the same storm-gray eyes. Adrian's pulse thundered. Both girls had those eyes. His throat tightened. He tried to form her name, but it wouldn't come out. Mara stepped closer, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. "Thank you for saving her. Let me take them now." The words were polite, but the distance behind them felt like a wall built brick by brick over years of unspoken pain. Adrian hesitated just a second too long. The little girl's small hand remained curled on his coat, and that tiny connection made something inside him ache. Are they yours?" he whispered, unsure if he wanted the answer or feared it. Mara froze. Her expression shifted, fear, anger, heartbreak, all in a single breath. "You shouldn't ask questions you walked away from," she said softly. "Not after 4 years." Her words hit harder than the speeding car. The rain softened, but the storm inside Adrian only grew louder. Mara's words echoed through him, each one peeling back a layer he had carefully sealed away. 4 years. 4 years since he had walked out of her life believing it was the right choice, the responsible choice, the only choice. Yet standing here now, with 2 little girls gripping her coat and staring at him with eyes that mirrored his own, every step he had taken away from her felt like a mistake he could never undo. One of the twins peeked at him from behind Mara's leg, her tiny hand tugging at her mother's coat as though sensing the tension. "Mama, who is he?" the girl whispered, her voice thin with fear and curiosity. Adrian's heart clenched. He swallowed hard, trying to steady his breath, trying to make sense of the truth staring at him in pairs of storm-gray eyes. Mara placed a shaky hand on both girls' shoulders, pulling them close. "Just someone who helped us," she said quietly. A simple answer. A gentle answer. But the way her voice tightened around the words told Adrian everything. He had become a stranger in a story that should have been his. He took a step closer before he even realized it. "Mara, why didn't you tell me?" The question came out rough, pulled from a place he hadn't touched in years. She looked at him with a mixture of exhaustion and strength, the kind born from raising children alone. "You made your choice," she replied. "And I made mine." Lightning flashed far away, but the tension between them burned brighter. Adrian opened his mouth, desperate to pull back time, desperate to say anything that would slow the distance growing again between them. But then one of the girls tugged Mara's coat again, whispering, "Mama, let's go home." And just like that, Adrian realized he had already lost more than he'd ever known he had. Adrian felt the moment slipping through his fingers, as if the rain itself were pulling Mara and the girls farther from him with every passing second. He couldn't let them walk away, not now, not after seeing the truth written so clearly in their eyes. But when he stepped forward, Mara instinctively stepped back, placing herself between him and the twins with a quiet, natural protectiveness that stunned him. She had changed, and yet she hadn't. She had simply become more of what life demanded her to be. "I just need to understand," Adrian said softly, his voice breaking in a way he never allowed anyone to hear, not investors, not board members, not even himself. "Please, are they?" "Adrian." Mara's voice cut through the rain, gentle but final. "This conversation can't happen here." Her calmness unsettled him more than anger ever could. She wasn't here to fight. She wasn't here to accuse. She wasn't even here to explain. She was simply trying to protect her children. And that truth alone made him feel smaller than he ever had. One of the twins looked up at him again, curiosity replacing fear. "Why is he sad?" she whispered to her mother, her small hand brushing away her wet hair. The innocent question hit him like a blow. Sad. He had built an empire, traveled the world, become a name people whispered with awe. Yet in this moment, a child could see right through him in a way no one else ever had. Mara knelt beside the girls, brushing raindrops from their cheeks. "Because life is complicated sometimes," she murmured. The twins nodded, accepting the answer with the simple trust of children, unaware of the storm behind her words. Adrian took another step, desperation rising. "Mara, I don't want to lose this moment. Let me see them again. Let me talk to you. I'm begging you." She looked at him, really looked, and for a heartbeat he saw the woman he once promised never to hurt. But that flicker vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Good intentions don't erase 4 years," she said quietly. "And the girls, they don't know you. They don't even know your name." Those words struck deeper than anything she had said before. He opened his mouth to respond, but the twins tugged her hands again, murmuring softly for home. And Mara, with a tired sadness he couldn't yet decipher, whispered, "We need to go." Then she gently guided her daughters away, leaving him standing in the rain with a truth he had no idea how to face. He had become a stranger to the only family he didn't know he had. Adrian stood frozen as Mara led the girls away, their small hands wrapped around hers like she was the only safe place in the world. The rain blurred the city lights until everything looked like a memory he had already lost. His driver called his name twice before Adrian finally moved, but instead of getting back into the car, he turned in the direction Mara had gone. Not to chase her, he knew better than to frighten her or the children, but because something inside him refused to let the moment end like that. He needed answers. He needed truth. He needed them. He followed at a distance, careful, slow, his heart pounding with every step. Mara turned down a quieter street, one lined with small apartments and dim porch lights. When she reached a building with peeling paint and a broken stair rail, Adrian felt his chest tighten. This was where she lived? Mara, the woman he once imagined building a future with, was raising 2 little girls here? Alone? She ushered the twins inside quickly, giving one last glance at the street to make sure no one followed. Adrian stepped back into the shadows so she wouldn't see him. The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt final. Too final. He stood staring at that door, soaked to the bone, wondering how many nights she had put the girls to sleep without help, without support, without him even knowing they existed. A sudden movement startled him, a neighbor stepping out with a trash bag. Adrian quickly pretended to check his phone, but the older man paused, looking him up and down. "You're looking for Mara?" he asked casually, not unkindly. Adrian's throat tightened. I know her," he managed. The man nodded, adjusting the bag in his hand. "Good mother. Hard-working. Those little girls, sweetest kids on this street." His voice softened. "She's been through a lot." Adrian felt the words like a weight on his chest. "She did it all alone?" he asked quietly. The neighbor gave a slow nod. "Never seen anyone else around. Just the 3 of them." Adrian swallowed hard, his vision blurring in a way that had nothing to do with the rain. He looked at the door again, imagining the twins changing into dry clothes, Mara checking their hands for scrapes, whispering soothing words he had no part in. The neighbor walked away, leaving Adrian in the silence of the wet street. For the first time in years he wasn't thinking about business, reputation, or power. He was thinking about 2 little girls with storm-gray eyes. And the woman who had carried all the weight he should have shared. Adrian stood alone on the dimly lit street, staring at the door as if it held every answer he'd spent years avoiding. 1,000 thoughts crashed through him: regret, fear, hope, a longing so sharp it felt like it could break him open. He had walked away from Mara believing he was protecting her from his world. He never imagined he was walking away from two lives he didn't know existed. But now that he knew, the silence felt unbearable. A light flicked on in the apartment window. He saw a small shadow climb onto the couch, followed by another. The twins. One of them jumped, laughing softly, safe now, warm now, untouched by the danger of moments ago. Mara appeared behind them, gently drying their hair with a towel, her movements tender and practiced. It was a scene he had no right to witness, yet couldn't turn away from. This was the life she had built without him. And the life he should have helped shape. The truth burned inside him. He wanted to know them. He wanted to be more than a stranger they feared on a rainy street. He wanted to stand beside Mara, not behind her. But wanting wasn't enough, not after 4 years. He finally forced himself to move. Not toward the door but toward the little shop across the street. He stepped inside and scanned the aisles until he found what he needed. Small snack boxes, bandages, warm cocoa packets, comfort items for children. He bought them quietly, not because he thought they would fix anything, but because he didn't know how else to begin. When he returned to the apartment building, he placed the bag gently at their door, not daring to knock. He couldn't force his way in. Trust wasn't something he could demand, it was something he had to earn, slowly, patiently, with respect. He looked at the door one last time and whispered, "I'll make this right, even if it takes the rest of my life." As he stepped away, the door opened. Mara stood there, eyes tired but alert, noticing the bag on the ground. She looked up and saw him a few steps down the hallway. Their eyes met. No shouting, no blame, just the weight of everything they'd lived through. Her voice was quiet, uncertain, but not closed. "Adrian, don't disappear again." Those words stopped him completely. A doorway, not forgiveness, just a chance. He took a slow breath, steadying his voice. "I won't. Not anymore." For the first time since the evening began, something warm flickered in his chest, fragile but real.